Okay guys, so to go back on our health subject, sugar is a drug. The number one source of calories in the United States is fructose and is highly addictive. Highly addictive. When it comes to high fructose corn syrup, a lot of people don't realize its danger. High fructose corn syrup obviously comes from corn, but it's not natural. Oh, I told you that this morning. Yeah. So, which helps explain? Yeah, well, eating high fructose corn syrup, in my opinion, is like snorting cocaine. It is the highly refined, isolated, and concentrated, chemically manipulated version of something that's found and grown in corn, which helps explain why we're hooked on fructose and why our addiction to it is getting worse. Our addiction to it is getting worse. In the 1990s, the average person consumed about 15 grams of fructose, or less than an ounce a day. The average person today consumes 70 to 80 grams a day, and there are many kids, primarily teenagers, who are taking 100, 130, and 150 grams of fructose a day. That's literally 10 times the amount people ingested a century ago. This type of exposure can lead to some very severe metabolic consequences and exacerbate addictive processes, which make it next to impossible to break the cycle of craving unhealthy foods and drinks. In terms of just the glycemic index, an indication of how quickly foods convert into sugar in the blood, high fructose corn syrup is like jet fuel for your body. If you put jet fuel into your car gasoline tank, you're going to ruin your engine and burn it out. Much the same thing happens in the human body. Much the same things happen in the human body. While there's nothing entirely wrong with a little sugar now and again, it's crucial to define what we mean by moderation, because we seem to have lost the basic concept of moderation. I think many concepts we have lost concerning health. Americans today consume about 150 pounds of sugar and 70 pounds of high fructose corn syrup per year. That amounts to about 20 teaspoons of sugar per day. Sugar is in everything, from corn syrup, from cough syrup, to crackers, to cereals, to sushi. It's almost impossible to avoid. But here comes the tricky part. When you're thinking about what you eat, about what to eat, if you're working to reduce your sugar intake, your definition of what sugar is really needs to expand. There are many different forms of sugar: white crystallized sugar, maple syrup, malted barley, fruit sugar, and high fructose corn syrup. And lots of little bugs here bugging me all the time. That's a corn syrup, but even processed carbohydrates are a form of sugar. Once your body breaks down these carbohydrates, they turn to sugar, immediately increasing sugar levels in your bloodstream. Most things contain sugar or are in fact sugar. You think of something like a croissant. People say, I've gone on a sugar-free diet, but they're eating a croissant. And I say that's sugar. What do you think is going to happen when that enters the bloodstream? That is sugar. So it's more than just the white crystals. It's bread, pasta, cereal, rice, potatoes, corn, waffles, pancake, and pretty much any food most Americans eat for breakfast. When we're depressed or under stress, we crave foods that makes us feel good. Comfort foods like mac and cheese, which gives us that sugar high. We become addicted to that high, just as we do with other drugs. And we need more and more and more over time to give us that same effect. It's not fat that makes us fat. It's sugar that makes us fat. The more sugar we consume, the more we experience chronic disease, as well as these incredible up and down mood swings. This is because sugar increases beta endorphins in the brain, the feel-good natural opiate morphine-like substance. We normally associate addiction with cocaine, heroin, or other big drug, but the truth is that more premature death are the result of sugar and alcohol and smoking than cocaine or heroin. If you walk the aisle in the average grocery store and look at the amount of sugar in a child breakfast cereals, you might as well be rolling up the kid's sleeve and putting in heroin, because it's the same. It's that addictive. For sure, sugar is addictive. We know the problems caused by cocaine and heroin and alcohol. We now regularly refer to them as drugs. It's time we started recognizing white sugar as a drug. To get a handle on our addiction to sugar, we need to start thinking about these massive that does of sugar as no different from drugs and alcohol. Healthy sweetener comparison chart. From less healthy to more healthy. So less healthy, you have artificial sweetener, including aspartame, high fructose corn syrup, white refined sugar, agave nectar, and now it goes to the more healthy, raw cane sugar, coconut palm sugar, raw unprocessed honey or maple syrup, date, raisin, or fresh fruit used in juices or smoothies, and stevia, natural herb sweetener. So stevia is not that bad for you, apparently. It's a herb sweetener. The diet trap. According to the January 20, 2010 issue of the Journal of the American Medical Association, 68% of adults in the United States are overweight or obese. That's an astounding number. It's the kind of number that makes us want to do whatever it takes to lower it. America loves enemies, says Alejandro Junger, MD, author of the New York Times bestseller Clean. America chooses an enemy and employs all its force against it. At some point, when we noticed we were getting fat, we made fat the enemy and attacked it. Everything became fat-free, and we replaced fat with carbohydrates. As a result, we became the fattest country in the world. 1/3 of all women and 1/4 of all men in the US are on a diet. Here's the thing about fat-free. It's a farce. Fat-free food just means it's loaded with sugar. I can get a 2-pound bag of sugar and put a label on it that says it's 100% fat-free, says Jason Bales. While factually correct, it's also incredibly misleading. Once a person ingests that sugar, the pancreas immediately secretes insulin, a fat-producing hormone, to lower the rise in the body's sugar levels. So all these excess energy comes along, and the body has to store it somewhere. In the short term, the body stores it in the liver, But to store the excess energy, the body produces fat cells, thinking it can just burn them off later. The problem is, with a fat-free diet, there's never a later.